the Board of Health to order. This is our first time back. There are a lot of new technologies and a lot of new things that we need to do in this space, so please bear with us, and we will hopefully be successful tonight. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Ladies and gentlemen, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have approval of minutes May 11th and May 25th. First, approval of May 11th. Are there any omissions, additions, errors?
Make a motion to approve? Oh. Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Wayne Salzman, member of the Board of Health, who is remote tonight in Maine, and he moves to approve. Do I have a second from our vice chair tonight, David McSweeney? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I guess I have to ask you to say aye. Mr. Wayne Salzman, so that's 5-0-0. It's working. We also have approval of minutes May 25th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney, second. Second by Andrea. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Salzman, aye. So 4-0-1. Tonight, I just want to let you know that this is, as I said, it's our first meeting back, and that Dr. Salzman is remote, is remote this evening. So to that end, citizens' time. We have a number of people on I guess it's WebEx or the telephone. If there's anybody who is not on the agenda tonight who would like to speak to this board, please identify yourself. I guess we have none. We can go on to the chairman's report. On April 3rd, 2020, I said to the Burlington Union, we're going to get through this crisis. Never did I imagine it would take 15 months. I don't have to tell you of the impact of the pandemic on this country, state, and town. The millions that became ill, the thousands that died, everyone in this room or viewing this meeting at home has been impacted in some way and will continue to be impacted for years to come. Yet we learned so much over the last year and 2 months. We learned about our government, technology, public health, of the so many people who became heroes within our community. But most of all, we were reminded of our resilience as Americans. Many within this community, elected, appointed individuals, employees, our first responders, police and fire, many professionals, this Board of Health, our volunteer medical reserve corps, did so much to keep this town safe. They worked not only days, but evenings and weekends alike. To Susan Luminello and her staff, to my colleagues on this board, to everyone within this town who did so much, all I can say is thank you. As I've done during the pandemic, I asked for comments during my chairman's report. If anybody would like to say anything, this is an opportunity.
Mr. Chair, just a couple of comments. First, I echo your sentiments, particularly to Susan and the rest of the staff, that they, and we talk about this almost every meeting, that they've persevered. They had to change on the fly, dedicated their time beyond their hours, so I can't thank you enough. And it still have to run day-to-day Board of Health stuff above and beyond COVID. But I also want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you really went above and beyond working seriously a full-time job in a volunteer role. And I know the town itself, and I can't speak on behalf of the town, but certainly the residents and the boards that I've spoken to want to thank you sincerely for all you've done to get us through the crisis and back in this room.
Thank
So
you.
It's happy to be here.
It's a job that everyone worked together. We did it as a community, and we did it successfully. Burlington remained as safe as possible. So I thank you all. We have a variance, Beirut Convenience Store, 47 Wynn Street, external grease interceptor. Do we have somebody here?
Yes.
Okay, please.
So this is Ms. Soraya, and she is going to be opening a retail store, a small meat and a butcher shop. So she has a 3-compartment sink, and she has an internal grease interceptor, but she doesn't own the property and is unable to put in an external grease interceptor. So she's here before you tonight to request a variance from Section 4, Part A of the Burlington Board of Health's grease trap regulations. She has filled out a variance application, which is attached, and my recommendation to the board is to vote to approve the variance from Section 4, Part A, and allow the new food service establishment to operate without installing an external grease interceptor with the following condition. The food service establishment operator and the property owner both understand that this variance may be subject to revocation, suspension, or expiration as determined by the Board of Health. A variance under these regulations may be revoked, modified, or suspended only after the food service establishment has been notified in writing and given an opportunity to be heard at a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Health. Reasons for revocation, modification, or suspension of a variance include, but are not limited to, a determination that the food service establishment is discharging grease in quantities sufficient to cause sanitary sewer line blockages or increased maintenance of sewer lines.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have actually one,
Please.
and one for Marlene too. So, can you tell us a little bit about, and it's probably self-explanatory, but it says convenience store and then deli. What kind of foods are you?
It's gonna be meat, only fresh meat. Not like, I'm not gonna use a lot of oils, fryers.
So, is there any prepared
Yeah.
foods, or is it just
I'm not gonna prepare any kind of food over there.
It's raw.
it's raw
Raw meat.
butcher and no prepared, no subs or sandwiches like that? And I guess Marlene, what part of this do we need a variance? Why do they need a grease interceptor if they were?
Because they have a 3-compartment sink.
Oh, okay, just for that alone, they would need the variance, I gotcha. Okay, perfect. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
And Marlene, she still has to keep a log for the cleaning of the,
Correct, right.
Correct.
So when she has somebody come to clean the internal grease interceptor, it needs to be logged.
and you're aware of exactly what you need to do. You understand the variances.
Yes.
If any other questions online, Doctor, do you have any questions?
Questions?
Okay, no questions. Then do I have a motion to approve a variance for the Beirut Convenience Store, 47 Wynn Street, for an exterior grease interceptor variance?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mary Beth.
Second?
I have a second by David. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Dr. Salzman votes aye, that's 5-0. Welcome to Burlington. You're all set, thank you. And you'll be sending her there, you'll be sending her the variance? Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
we have a biological safety permit, 60 Blanchard Road, Greenlight Biosciences Incorporated. Would you please give your name for the recording secretary, and please spell it?
Yeah, my name is Raheem Anderson, R-A-H-A-N-A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N.
And your last name?
Anderson.
Anderson, thank you.
Last spelling, but no.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Is it Doctor or Mr.?
Mr.
Mr., thank you, Mr. Anderson. Who is going to do this presentation?
I'll do a quick introduction and then.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Anderson can do his presentation. Greenlight Bioscience is planning to occupy 2 clean rooms at Azure at 60 Blanchard Road. You're familiar with them. You heard them on their special permit and a prior applicant as well at our last meeting. They will be doing biological safety level 1 work for R&D and small-scale production of messenger RNA vaccines, including a COVID vaccine. So from there, I'll let Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, do you have a presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So, a little introduction about myself. I just joined Greenlight probably 3 months ago, and I'm coming from an extensive background in the biotech industry, most recently from Pfizer. And I was mentioning earlier to your colleagues, if you have had the Pfizer vaccine, one of the first couple million that had it in Massachusetts, chances are it came through a lab that I oversaw. So.
That's commendable. Thank you.
I'm glad it's out there. Everybody's getting vaccinated. So Greenlight Bioscience is responding to the COVID-19 crisis that you see up there. So we plan on doing 2 clean rooms, and we're going to do it from the Asia site, 60 Blanchard Road, as you mentioned. Sorry. So the facilities, as you mentioned, is 2 side-by-side suites. There's several suites in that building, and we have 2 of them, and we're planning on having 10 full-time operators there. And we're going to have various people coming back and forth, but 10 people are going to be there for the most part. In 2022, we plan on wrapping up to around 15. That's what we're most see. So it's in the GMP phase 1 production. We're not using any living cells there, really bacterial or viral cells at all. It will be primarily active through 2021 and into 2022. And as with all the other big major pharma company, we'll do the COVID vaccine. We're going to do a variant, and then we'll go into the flu vaccine for the season of flu, just along the line as all the big pharma companies that are out there. So as mentioned, this is a chemical synthesis of the mRNA, and the big selling point of this for Greenlight is we can produce it at a tenth of the cost what it costs the big companies because of the how we perform this task. And the plan is to be able to supply some of the far-reaching countries that can't afford the high price of the vaccine. So, let's see. So later on next year, we're going to also go into some RNA templates that we're going to use, and again, it's the same concept, just a little bit different, and other stuff we're purchasing from our outside vendor right now, and we plan on making everything in-house, so we'll have the capability of doing that, and again, to help to reduce the cost of producing the vaccine. So on the NIH list is considered a 3-D, and review this and approve it by the IBC board internally, and that they no concerns or any objections biggest thing here is ethanol. We will use some ethanol, but limited to 30 gallons in total for the two suites. And so that's only 6% of what the site allows. So very, very small amount. And that ethanol will be diluted when it gets set up. But it's stuff I went over before, but it's two adjacent clean room, fire safety level 1. It has a capable of doing cell culture, and obviously purification, so the upstream and the downstream portion of biologics. We have two office areas, and the office areas are not connected to the lab. And they don't have air that's recirculated from the suites into the office area and vice versa. So the suites themselves, they have its own system. Each one is individually controlled air, and the office space also has its own controlled air. So two separate units. Building will be key card access, so you have to complete all the necessary training to have access into the building, and so there's no chance of anybody who's not qualified going into those spaces at this point. So this is a little layout of one of the suite of what it would look like, and it has a good unit flow, so you'll enter to one side and you exit to the back side. So basically you go down, go in, and then be down and exit out that side, and change from strokes into your regular street use. So in the clean room, you're going to have scrubs, change from your regular clothes into scrubs, and you'll have a blank uniform, and all of this stuff is going to be covered under a procedure. There's footwear, there's the regular lab gowning that we have to perform, and all these are covered by Asia specific procedure. On top of that, Green Light might have their additional BDE that we might add onto this. So baseline would be Asia, and then probably will have same thing for lab policies and stuff like that. Asia has some specific things that they call out. You can't eat, drink, no makeup, perfume, and those type of things inside the lab. And Green Light will above and beyond those as well. COVID guidelines, again, we require an X amount of people to be vaccinated for people not to wear masks in the office areas and such. And I think we definitely meet that threshold. But if we're not, then we'll have a social distancing, and we'll the CDC suggests we'll make sure everybody adheres to that. So, okay. But it look bad, somebody making COVID vaccine and we get COVID ourselves. So definitely don't want that to happen. So our occupational service, we're going to go through health.
Mr. Anderson, you submitted 209 pages of information here, which was wonderful weekend reading for many of us. We have all spent some time. I'd like, this may be a good spot to ask some questions. First, for our environment engineer, Christine Mathis. You've been through this whole application, start to finish. Do you have any issues whatsoever?
I don't, and the three conditions that are proposed have been met already. I have the site-specific Green Light biological safety plan, and I have Azur's site-specific plans and a hazardous materials registration, including Azur's full one. That includes Green Light Bio's clean rooms.
I have read through it. I don't find any issues whatsoever. I agree with you. Where are you located? Where is the main offices for Green Light?
We have two sites. One is in Medford and the other one is in Woburn.
Do you
Like itself has another site out in Rochester, New York.
do you have any feeling that you will be expanding here within the Burlington area?
Currently, we have the lab spaces for 2 years. At the same time, we're laterally looking for a place to do a full commercial scale production. And we haven't identified a site yet, but we're trying to look for a site within this 95 belt.
Well, you may want to look here. We have a lot of inventory that can be adapted to exactly what you need. Question from our director.
So I wondered, we just got a comment from the audience that's really out there, the hard to hear. Yeah, if you could tell, thank you.
So
Is there, are they going to speak, the person in the audience, or
No, they were just letting us know.
oh, they couldn't hear us? Okay. Any other?
I just had one question, and is this a 24/7
no, no.
hours operation?
At first, because we're just making clinical material right now, we're planning on doing probably 10 hours a day, 10 to 12 hours a day, and mostly would be in the daytime.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, and I'm comfortable with green lights, what you're doing and coming into town. I don't have any concerns with you specifically. And we've been through, I guess it's more for Susan and Christine. We've been through Azure's plan several times, right? And I think everybody on the board that was here at the time felt really comfortable with what they were doing, how they were doing it, their plans. They really were very detail oriented. I thought that they had all the angles covered, kind of their T's crossed, their I's dotted across the board. I felt really comfortable with it. I guess it's more of a question, maybe a comment, is that I think this is the second biotech going into Azure in Burlington now, right? So now we're going to have potentially, or I guess the third clean room that's going to be leased out. I just want to make sure that we're comfortable. Is it 5?
There's 5 clean rooms.
There's 5.
2 tenants, 5 clean rooms.
Okay, 2 tenants.
Yeah.
5 clean. So 5 clean rooms. I just want to make sure we're comfortable as the Board of Health in monitoring, and maybe we even beef up the monitoring the first year or so to make sure, because we have 2 different companies in and out, batch swipes coming in and out, that Azure is really following the policies as stated. And it's just more of a question or a comment that you guys feel comfortable in ensuring that they're adhering to their policies that we're very articulate and detailed about now that we have 5 clean rooms up and running, or will have 5. And it could be, something to take away and come back with, but I just want to make sure that we're comfortable with, mixed use and people in and out of there, and that we have plans to monitor and inspect that regularly.
So the monitoring of the labs is done by the IBCs.
Sure.
The individual. So right now we have 2 IBCs.
Yep.
That are running. Azure is overseeing the facility itself and how they're getting in, making sure they're not mixing, that type of thing.
Totally understand.
So I feel confident based on, like, as you do, when we talked to Azure, that they had that, a plan for that under control with the card access and that type of thing. So I feel comfortable with that. And then again, the individual ones, tenants, would you say, are overseen by their IBCs. And then if they have a change there in anything, their processes or whatever, they have to come back to us and they have to report it to the IBC, and they would have a change in their permit. So it's not as if we do the inspections, the hazardous material inspections.
Yeah.
Once a year.
Right.
So Christine is in there, for the hazardous material inspections for each tenant. And then also as part of the IBC meetings that occur, I believe, once a year, correct? Yeah.
Or anytime there's a change, yeah.
Yeah, the annual IBC, or if there's a change IBC. So we're in there, those are the times that we're in there, and that's what's outlined in, our current regulations as far as what we can be in there for.
Let me ask it a different way then. Maybe this is only going to be successful if it's running as it's architected and planned, right? And everybody does their role. How do we know that that is all working to our satisfaction, I guess is the question.
I would imagine we would know when Christine goes in and does her inspections and, for, like I said, the 4 times a year at least, if there's gonna, and then more tenants should be in there more often. I guess it depends on the amount of tenants that would be there, in there too. So the more tenants, the more she's gonna have to go in, right? Now, are you, and your hazardous materials inspections, are you doing an inspection for each tenant or just for the building?
So I would do, each tenant will have an IBC inspection as part of the annual meeting, or if there's a meeting of the IBC due to a change. But then I would do an annual inspection of Azure. And I have the facility is still under construction.
Sure.
So there'll be an initial inspection before any tenants go in. So I can look at their chemical storage areas, their waste storage areas, make sure that, signage and all that. And, I see the security stuff and all that. And then an annual after that. Plus, like I said, in addition, annual visits for IBC inspections.
Yeah, maybe
No,
since we have
IBC
an audience,
Inspection is,
explain what IBC is for the audience.
yeah.
We're very close to it because we hear about it and we talk about it all the time. And I'm assuming that Mr. Harrison will be the IBC for this.
He is. So the IBC consists of, in this case, Greenlight Bio representatives, an Azure representative. I believe he's on the call also. Paul Palladino is on.
That is correct.
And the principal investigator who is on the call, Jeff Robinson, thank you. Mr. Anderson, myself, and Jim Harrison are on the Institutional Biosafety Committee. And that is a committee made up of, as I said, Greenlight Bio, management and scientists, as well as a Board of Health representative and a community representative, which Mr. Harrison is for both the tenants who are currently going into 60 Blanchard. So we meet at least once a year. We inspect at least once a year as part of that meeting. Again, we haven't done inspection yet because they're still under construction, but once they're up and running, we'll be in there.
I just want to point out, since just take 1 second, Mr. James Harrison in town, a former member of this board, an engineer, an expert in biotechnology, an expert in what he does in institutional and industrial safety, is a volunteer for this town who sits on multiple biosafety boards. And whenever we have an opportunity, I'd like to thank him publicly. And if he's watching, thank you very much, Jim. We appreciate it, and the town is grateful to you. I have no other questions. I have read this. I will ask the question I always ask to our environmental engineer, Christine Mathis. Are you satisfied with everything that was submitted?
Yes.
And I always ask our Director of Public Health. Are you?
I just have one question.
Sure.
So on your PowerPoint, it says that these manuals are in progress. Did you say we have them, or are they still in
We
progress?
have them. There may be some final tweaks.
Okay.
Like I said, the facility is still under construction, but I have the 99% document from both Azure and from Greenlight Bio.
Okay.
With that, if there are no other questions, I'll ask for a motion for approval. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the biological safety permit, 60 Blanchard Road for Greenlight.
Motion by David McSweeney, second by Mary Beth Welch. All in favor? Aye. Dr.
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye.
5-0. Mr. Anderson, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for representing Greenlight. We are very happy that Greenlight has come to Burlington. We hope you find a place that you'll be here permanently for a long period of time. We wish you well. Thank you for coming. Good evening. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, but I'm sure it's the summer and you have other things to do. Good night. Thank you so much. 5-0.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I just have one request from BCAT. So as you see, these speakers here are for the WebEx. Microphones are BCAT, I believe. So they're asking us to make sure everyone has their microphones on. So just don't touch the buttons on these ones, but those microphones, just please make sure they're on.
I'm going to ask our professionals if there's anything that is very much pressing tonight to report on, because I would like to postpone the reports because we do have a second meeting this evening. I just would like to just a quick update on the E. coli situation and the boil, and the boil order from last weekend from either our director or from our professional staff. Is there anything they'd like to add to that? I know that we are only tangentially involved in that. However, we are responsible for the health of this community.
Yes, and we did do an emergency response. So we are responsible for the food service establishments and the safety of patrons who in consuming what's in the food service establishment. So on Friday morning, when we found out about well, as soon as Friday morning came along, we found out late Thursday night. I called staff in. Our staff came in and we notified all of the food service establishments through Connect CTY, through both phone and email. And we called all of them and made sure we talked to a person. And if we had any ones that we did not talk to a person, we called up our MRC. And we had MRC volunteers who went out and delivered the information that they needed to know. So we got that all done on Friday, and I want to thank the staff because everybody worked really hard on that day just to get that information out.
Thank you very much. I want, Marlene, do you have any other any comment?
We utilized Code Red, and I have to say, it's a fabulous way to communicate. When I was speaking to a lot of these folks, I asked, did you get the phone call? We sent a phone call to their food establishment, and then we sent an email to the email that we had on file. We have several emails on file for the local manager, maybe the manager, owners, and they said that they received it. So it's a great system. I don't know what we would have done without it.
The first time we used it, or?
No, we've used it in the past,
Yeah.
but this is during an emergency.
Emergency.
So great
Yeah,
to
that's
have.
awesome.
Yeah.
And Susan, and the rest of the staff, thanks. I know it was a town holiday on Friday, so thanks for breaking that and coming in.
Christine, any other comments? No. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask for a motion to postpone reports, the environmental engineers report, the health agent report, and the director of public health report this evening. Could I have a motion to postpone that to the next meeting?
So moved.
I have a motion, Mary Beth Wells. Andrew Sheehan, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Dr. Salzman votes aye, 5-0. Thank you very much. Let's just take one moment and we have a second meeting. Actually, we had a meeting to adjourn. Do I have a meeting to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion by Dave McSweeney, second by Mary Beth Welch. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Dr. Salzman votes aye. That's 5-0. Let's just take 1 minute and get ready for our special Board of Health meeting this evening. I cannot see the screen from here.